Good afternoon. The Monday, August 10th, City of Panama City Planning Meeting is now in order. Please take the roll.
Board Member Anderson.
Present.
Board Member Terry.
Here.
Board Member Barker.
Here.
Board Member Rich.
Here.
Chairman Newbauer.
Here. Are there any changes or deletions to the agenda? Seeing none. Any announcement or disclosures by board members?
Yeah, I have been talking with some people on the 1023 East 15th Street.
And Chairman, I have gone and visited each site.
Thank you. You have the July 20th, 2026 meeting minutes in front of you. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion approved. Second.
Motion second. Y'all decide how.
I'll second his.
Which
Yeah.
one you
Yeah.
want to write?
Nah, I will second his.
Please take roll.
Board Member Anderson.
Abstain.
Board Member Terry.
Abstain, I wasn't here.
Board Member Barker.
Yes.
Board Member Rich.
Yes.
Chairman Newbauer.
Yes. I'll now read the procedure which the board will follow during quasi-judicial hearings. Step 1, public hearing announced, introduction of application by staff. Step 2, ex parte communication, disclosure by board members. Step 3, identification of applicant and affected parties that intend to participate in the hearing. Affected parties that only intend to make a statement may do so at the public participation part of the agenda. An affected party means any person or entity that will suffer an adverse effect to an interest protected or furthered by the ULDC, included interests related to health and safety, police and fire protection, service systems, densities or intensities of development, transportation facilities, healthcare facilities, equipment or services, and environmental or natural resources. The alleged adverse interest may be shared in common with other members of the community at large, but must exceed in degree the general interest in the community could share by all persons. I'll turn it over to council to swear any witnesses.
With all of our items today.
Thank you.
Yep. If you're here today to speak on any of the items that are on the agenda, you plan to come to the podium, if you'd stand now, raise your right hand and I will swear you in. You solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you'll give in these matters be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Yes. All right, thank you very much. When you come to the podium, if you'll state your name and address for the record, and that you have been sworn. If you didn't stand up and speak and swear in when you come, you just change your mind, just let us know and we'll swear you in at that time, okay?
Thank you. Can we get that door closed right there? Thank you. Requests, item A.
Request A, case number ending in 1253 is in request for rezoning. The applicant has requested a rezoning from light industrial to heavy industrial. The owner is SA Recycling LLC and the applicant is Curtis Adams and is located at 1023 East 15th Street.
Thank you. Are there any questions for board members for staff?
I have questions. Lived in the Bay County area for 40 years now, and it seems like my recollection that this facility has always been here and it's been used like this. So I'm curious, why now? Why try to move from the existing zoning to a request for heavy industrial? And with that, what are you hoping to do with the heavier industry that you're not doing now?
Well, the request originally came in for a business license and it was zoned incorrectly, so we couldn't approve it.
It's a non-conforming use,
To your point.
and they changed ownership. And so anytime you have a change of ownership of non-conforming use, it basically voids that non-conforming.
So the ownership change
Yes,
has what made it rise to the level that it comes before us?
yes.
Okay.
So the previous owner, it was zoned properly when they had it, and then they were grandfathered in through the length of their ownership. Is that the case?
No, it was, I think it, as far as we know, it's always been light industrial, but, and therefore it's always been non-conforming use. But the recent change in ownership is what has prompted this request.
So I have a question. So it doesn't necessarily have to change estate light industrial, right?
The issue is that when we receive business license applications for review, our primary function in planning and zoning is to ensure that the business and the operation is consistent with the zoning district. So right now, that review is kind of on hold until they are able to go through that process. So that's what we check for. And when they came in with the new ownership, because we see all that, we check all of that. So when we saw that, we said, okay, hold up. They need to make sure they come into conformance with the current codes. That's ultimately what, going back to what Michael and what Orlando were saying earlier, it's ultimately what prompted this. So in order for them to be in compliance with the current code, they need to have an HI zoning designation. And so that's why this request has come before you today.
But once they get heavy industry, they can put any kind of industry in there they want.
That is correct. But HI does specifically call out that, recycling type facilities. But that is correct. Once you get that zoning, they will be able to come in and potentially do whatever is allowed in that zoning. But one thing I will also have, remind the board is that HI is subject to major development review. And major development review requires that your review, we have to bring those requests before you. It's also subject to impact analyses. So any type of development that's proposed in HI has to come before the board for review and approval.
Okay, got one more question.
Sure.
What if it's refused? What could they do?
I'm sorry?
What if it's voted down? What could they do besides go to the city commission?
They would be subject to the regulations of light industrial. They will maintain that light industrial zoning. So as far as the current use is concerned, it would
So
be
it
non-conforming.
remain the same the way it is. If the board refuses it, it still will remain light industrial?
It will stay light industrial.
Yes, it would stay, yeah.
Therefore, the business that exists it will no longer be able to exist, the current business.
Close the business.
Yeah, staff would not be able to sign off on, at least the zoning portion, we would not be able to sign off on that request. Yeah, because
Is
it's,
the applicant present?
Yeah, well, that's that next. Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions for staff?
I'm gonna go.
All right, is the applicant here to speak on this item?
Who's on?
Well, we need the applicant the opportunity to speak first.
Applicant speak first.
Applicant's not here. Okay, is anyone else here to speak?
Well, then,
Is there anybody online?
Is there anybody online on the applicant's behalf?
I don't know who the person online is.
So then we move it to next.
Yeah.
yeah, that is Savannah's reminding us, remember we had our quorum problem last time. This gentleman was supposed to be here.
He's supposed to be on Zoom, correct?
No, that was, those folks didn't show up. That was a different one. This one we pushed off because it was a zoning, it was required. Those other two were within the purview of this board to make those decisions. They were both variances, as I recall. This one, we informed him, I think at that meeting, that we would be back here. And that we would take it to the very next, tomorrow it's supposed to go to the city commission. What I'm about to remind you is you have a policy that if the applicant doesn't show up, then you table this until the next available meeting to let them, to be here for it.
May I ask
Staff
another
been-
question first?
Sure, let me just ask real quick. Has staff been in contact with the applicant in the last few days? Okay, for now, can we table this to the end of the agenda and then just in case the applicant?
Sure.
shows up?
Yeah, you can do that. You can just move it to the end if that's the will of the board.
Go ahead. What was your comment?
I just want to ask a question, just so I'm clear, there is no other path for this business to continue its current type of operations without moving to the heavy industrial, correct?
Not that we're aware of.
Yeah, not that we're aware of.
Okay.
Right now, that's our holdup typically when we have these types of reviews, because that is our function, is to make sure as far as zoning is when we have these businesses that come in to ensure the proposed operation does fit within, our land use policies, our goals, and our zoning.
Well, the only issue is if we change it, then that's a permanent change.
Of
And
course.
now that particular one that is not adjacent to any other HI is going to be HI, And if it can stay LI and allow them to continue operations, then we're not permanently changing it. I don't know
think-
that that's beneficial to
Well,
us that way.
I think the only other option, and I'm thinking out loud here, I mean, the commission ultimately would have to amend the category. I mean, amend the zoning district.
The
But
text of the zone.
saying the actual text, now that potentially could be an option, but of course that is more time and that is something that I think could definitely be considered, absolutely. But off the top of my head, anything other than that at the moment, I'm not clear, unless staff has any other ideas off the top of their head.
Development agreement that construed heavy industrial zoning to a more limited use for this particular parcel.
Yep, okay.
Okay, I got one more question. All right, you said it was change of ownership. Did ownership inquire through you about the zoning before they even purchased it? That you know of?
I am not,
I don't think so.
I don't believe so. I don't believe so. But that, I mean, to your point, that is typically part of due diligence during purchase. I am not aware. They could have, we can go into our records to see if we got some type of zoning verification, because sometimes people will reach out for zoning verification letter request or something like that. But off the top of my head, no, I'm not privy to them reaching out prior to purchasing the property, changing ownership.
I guess, Chairman, question? I guess that begs a follow-up question. Then how long did the previous owner own this property as it relates to was light industrial? When the comprehensive plan came in and all those regulations came before it and they were deemed non-conforming, was it under that ownership? So in other words, has they been owning this property for many, many years prior to this sale? See what I'm trying to get to?
Yes, we can look that up right now
Okay.
on the,
With the applicant not here, and since they were inconvenienced by the lack of a quorum at the previous month's meeting, I'd entertain a motion to table this to the end of the agenda. And then
Okay.
if we don't have them here online, we can table it to the next month.
One
So-
quick question, if I might.
I think he's trying to
Get
Is he
here.
trying to
yeah,
get,
he just.
Well, just because these questions may be better asked by the,
That's right.
answered by the applicant.
my
So
question's definitely for that.
All right, so we have a motion for
I need a
moving it to
motion.
the end of the agenda. He said so moved.
Okay.
Okay, I'll second.
Okay. Got a motion second, table it to the end of the agenda. Please take roll.
Board Member Anderson,
Yes.
Board Member Terry,
Yes.
Board Member Parker,
Yes.
Board Member Rich.
Yes.
Chairman Newbauer.
Yes. That's
Motion
just to move it
passes
to the
by
end of the agenda today.
That's right.
Okay.
Okay.
Request letter B.
Item B is case number ending in 1618 is an application for a variance. The applicant is requesting a variance from the residential 1 R1 front parcel line setback regulations established by section 104-26 of the City of Panama City Unified Land Development Code. The applicant is requesting 20 feet of relief with a remaining 0-foot setback. The owner and applicant is Mickey Hall, and the parcel is located at 4019 Valencia Court. And staff is recommending approval.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the board members for staff?
I have questions. And it may be for the owner, some of these may be for the owner and some, so I'll try to get to what's for staff. Does staff know whether or not this owner secured a contractor to build this? Because there is structure at this property. Would have been nice to have a picture, as a part of the packet, so, we could see that this has already tried to being built. And the sense is that someone has stopped it. There's pilings or pole barns, I don't know what the right word is, vertical structures going up. So I'm wondering, did a contractor do that? Or did the property owner do that? And why are we now just getting this request when structure has been trying to go up?
That may be a question for the applicant to answer on. I was not aware.
Okay. All right, then I'll move to maybe questions that I have related to this property that's more appropriate for staff. Because when I drove by it and I looked at it and I scratched my head on it, I completely understand they've got two beautiful sycamore trees in their front yard and understand the hardship that creates. But when I moved by the yard and I saw how close, if you're facing the house on the right-hand side, they've got a second structure beyond their home, is close to the fence line. I said, wow, that doesn't look like it's 7 feet. So I tried to do some math. And on our construction plans, this one, if I can see, team, if you can see this one, you can see that the home in red is 13 feet 9 inches. Then team, on the second page, titled MTS Surveying and Mapping, you can see that second structure that's beyond the home, and it's 11 feet 7 inches. So when you go 13.9 minus 11.7, that's 2.2. So if I'm seeing this right, so this is a question to staff, am I seeing this right, that on the right side of their home, as you face it, they've got setback problems already?
The site, the plan that you called MTS Surveying and Mapping, this is their survey. This is the most correct information. I had kind of the same questions when it came to the site plan. The other copy that you showed referenced by,
Carport
the hair
construction.
solution plan. I believe the measurements on that one are not correct. And that's why we asked the applicant to provide us with the survey.
Well, the survey doesn't show a 7-foot setback. I see a line and it goes 0.8.
Did it not?
That's referring to the fence encroachment.
Yeah, I don't know where.
It's got the
Yeah.
next. Yeah, that's the.
So is there 7 feet between that, what's it called, frame shed?
It may be referencing the fence.
Yeah, I think the 0.8 is the fence encroachment, but I'm not seeing.
But I don't
the-
see a reference for to your question, was that you're talking about right there in that same area.
Right.
There is nothing that shows you the distance between the property line and the frame shed.
Frame shed, and
Yeah.
just your visual reference, when you ride up to it, it's like, that didn't look like it's 7 feet.
And that may be because the direction or the focus of the survey was to, because they already knew kind of where the structure was going to be located.
Sure.
So they kind of called out that specific
Sure.
setback.
Well, I guess part of where I'm trying to scratch my head over is, it looks like, and it probably needs to be verified, that this property already has a setback problem. And if that's true, then are we willing as a city to say, okay, you're going to have a setback problem, you haven't, under the assumption you haven't received approval for a variance from the planning board on, and now you're trying to have a zero, you're trying to go to 0 on your front yard. So I'm concerned for the question. Concerned for this applicant.
I don't know. I don't know if we discussed any concerns for them having a setback problem on this porch or this side
Sure.
of the.
Sure.
I don't know if they would have one, to be honest with you. I mean, the only way to know for sure it would be on the survey, but there's more, like, if this structure that's showing on here isn't attached to the house, it only needs a 3-foot setback on the side.
Is or isn't? What was your?
If it's not attached, it only needs a 3-foot setback. So
It is
I don't, yeah,
attached.
that wasn't really our, like, the concern of that
Right.
not meeting setback was not brought up or discussed.
I get it, that that's not the focus of this request, but as we look at this property as a whole and as a board member, I think it's our due diligence to look at it. And, I mean, it was just visual, and I'm just riding by, seeing these vertical structures up and then riding by and seeing how close this frame shed is to the fence. So, I'm not sure how you want to handle that, Chairman, or, maybe there's some further discussion that we can do. But I would like to know if there was a contractor hired, and what process was used to get to this point. I mean, why are we just now seeing this request when construction has already occurred?
I'd say the frame shed, if it's, the name would suggest it's an attached structure, which would be an accessory structure and has a 3 feet as opposed to those 7-foot setback. But is there anyone, other questions from board members for staff? All right, is the applicant here to speak on this item?
Oh, sorry, I did have, can I ask for clarification with the 0 setback that's being requested from the curb of the street? Is that, how far is it from the curb of the street?
So his survey shows that from the portion of his home that's like closest to the right of way to the right of way, like at his property line is 24 feet and 6 inches.
Okay, so it would still be how far from the street?
About half a foot, 6 inches. Because the the plans for the pole barn demonstrate that the dimensions are 24 feet, sorry, in width.
Okay.
Is the applicant here to speak on this? Please state your name and address for the record.
My name's Mickey Hall, live 4019 Valencia. To answer your question, when I bought the house in 2013, that structure was already there.
Okay.
The hurricane took the front part of it down, for there was a 30-foot shed for an RV. We put that back with a contractor. I enclosed it. The front that I'm asking for your help, I'm 20 feet from the asphalt at the end of that carport. 20 feet. I'm still on my property. I've got 2 vehicles. I cannot get them in my garage. I've got tannin coming off those trees, which forces me to hand wax my vehicles twice a month with cleaner and wax to get it off, because car wash will not take it off. I'm just asking for your permission for me to be able to maintain my vehicles and help me out in that situation. That's all I'm asking. I've designed it with a low roof, not a hip roof or anything to take up a lot of space. It's just a flat ceiling, not enclosed on the sides or whatever, just to protect 2 vehicles. And that's all I'm begging you to approve. I don't have any other
Have you hired a contractor?
No, ma'am, I do it myself. I've been general superintendent on 30-story buildings in Atlanta,
Okay.
MARTA underground tunnels. I've built stuff from here to Montana. I feel like I'm greatly qualified to build a carport.
Certainly, it's just part of the, kind of the thinking, how did you get this far?
My wife told
What
me,
was the impetus to come to us now after starting the construction?
my wife told me in May that she read an article that the governor was going to allow you to spend up to $7,000 on a structure. As far as the deck and all this other stuff, I assumed as long as I was under that $7,000, I was safe. I started it and then I read the fine print on it for wind load. So that's when I stopped construction on it. I had the columns up. I was gonna do what everybody in the neighborhood does. I was gonna build without permit. I'm just gonna be honest with you. That's what everybody out there does. From seawalls to whatever they want to do. When I read that, I stopped. I went to get a building permit, and that's when the money flow started.
Okay.
I got $3,000 in plans, $500 to appear before you. I got more money involved in paperwork than I got in wood sitting in my yard to build it. But I got $100,000 worth of vehicles that I cannot, I'm a disabled veteran, I cannot keep on hand waxing vehicles. I can't do it. And that tannin is running white vehicles. I got pictures of it, be glad to show you. It's parked in front of the building.
So-
I'm just asking for your permission, your help.
The length of the structure that you're trying to build, being 24 feet, is there any lesser length that would work given your vehicles? Do you know how long your vehicles are and
Sir,
how?
I'll measure 2 feet off my garage door and go with the back bumper of my vehicle, whatever that measurement is for you. I'll cut it, I'll do any way you want it done.
Yeah, I mean, my concern is that it being a half a foot from the actual street, that it could create an
But
obstruction
that's
or
not a
something or
street,
encroach.
sir.
What's that?
There's 6, 8 foot before you get to the sidewalk. There's 20 foot from the end of it to the pavement.
Yeah, it's not to the street.
Yeah,
There's nowhere.
Thought I
But
was
your,
asking.
but your point is one of my questions too. Why
How far it sticks
why
out,
so long when a car isn't 24 feet?
Vehicle's 18, I allowed for enough room to go around it, ma'am. If you want me to cut 4 foot off, I'll be more than happy to do it. I'll do anything that y'all will allow me to do to save my vehicles and save me the labor of having to cut them and take care of them.
So a follow-up question, why can't you put your vehicles in your garage?
They won't fit,
It won't fit. In what way?
the length.
The
I
length?
got two, one's a Toyota Tundra SR5, the other's a Ram 1500, 4-wheel drive. They will not fit in there. One of them won't fit in there.
I have the same problem. I've got a 2500 and it's too tall. So I wasn't sure, because I saw your trucks when I rode by and I said, I suspect either they're too tall or something that they wouldn't go in the garage.
Yes, ma'am.
I suspected that was going to be your answer.
I over-designed this, not to take up your time, but I more than doubled what it needs to be in order to keep any limbs coming down that I got to rebuild it. I could put up an aluminum, first limb comes down, I got to tear the whole thing down and rebuild it. This is overly, if you look at the plans, it's built 3 times stronger than it should be, but it's just a flat roof over 2 vehicles.
Am I correct that your primary concern with the limbs dropping stuff onto the vehicles is a width of the vehicle thing and not necessarily towards the street end that way?
Sir, those trees cover my whole property.
He's
From
got
one
2
side to
sycamore
the
Yeah,
other.
that's all
trees.
They're
sycamores,
50
yeah.
foot tall, and you're not gonna let me cut down a 50-foot tree, and I wouldn't do it anyway.
Wouldn't want you to.
But they're huge trees. I never knew they had the tannin in them when I planted them. But I never knew that was gonna be a problem down the road. I never researched it, but I'm finding out real quick what a problem they are. But they're gorgeous trees. My vehicles are gorgeous to me, and I'd like to say,
Any question? Thank you, sir. Is there anybody else here to speak on this item? Please come to the podium, state your name and address, and if you've been sworn in.
William Britton. My address is 4002 Valencia Court, Panama City, Florida. I live down the street from Mickey. I think you ought to think about the American Disability Act. The man is disabled. Right now, he's got to come out of his door, come down steps, walk around the tree to get to his vehicles. If you allow him to put this up, he could just come out and go right to his vehicles. He wouldn't be exposed to the rain, the wind, the sun, or anything else. I think you should seriously consider that. Man served the country, and there is the American Disability Act that you should bring into play. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Is anyone else here to speak on this item?
Belinda Taylor. I live right next door at 4027 Valencia Court.
Ms. Taylor, were you sworn in a moment ago?
No, I was not.
You promised to tell the truth?
I did.
Thank you very much.
I did an email response saying that I had no issues with it. I just wanted to make sure that you guys got it. You did? Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Anyone else here to speak on this item?
Michael Jones, 4022 Valencia Court, directly across the street from Mike.
Were you sworn in, sir?
Yes, sir.
You promised to tell the truth?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I have absolutely no problem with it. We live directly across from it. There's no impedance to us. It got a little more difficult for him when all the construction took place in our neighborhood and they added the sidewalk, which makes it a little bit bigger of an issue. He had a little bit more easement there before those sidewalks came in. And I don't think anybody on our street really wanted the sidewalks, but we had no control over that. So he's lost a lot of yard because of that. So I get the issue with his trucks, and we want to make sure that he's a good neighbor, and we have great relationship with him. And so I have no problem with it.
Thank you. Who else to speak on this item? All right, seeing none, do I have a motion?
Motion for approval.
I'll second.
Motion second.
Can we have further discussion?
Sure.
That's been seconded. It seems like on the right side, we've got a setback problem. And it seems like we need to get that resolved as well. It can be a second or different motion. But I wonder what the pleasure of the board is of how to handle that.
It's like, for staff, when an application comes to us for a variance, do we look at the underlying variances of other parts of the property?
Typically, we do, and as I'm looking at this closer, I am a bit concerned. So this is the rule of thumb with existing structures that are being expanded and how staff typically handles them, is that when you're expanding a primary structure, it does not matter what that structure is. If it's currently non-conforming with setbacks or whatever, the goal, if you're moving forward with the variance, to bring the entire site into compliance with the current code. So I would recommend, and I apologize if this wasn't addressed here. I see, because that's typically what we try to do.
Can that be done in the development order process?
Because you're varying from your setback. So we do not have the authority to vary from, we as in staff, to vary from the setback. So typically in the past, if you all recall, someone might be coming in to deal with a request specifically, or the front or the rear or whatever, but will also include language and specify about whether the side or whatever else needs to be rectified at that time. We try to catch those things.
And make sure they don't have to come back and pay another.
Correct. We try to catch it all at once. We try to, that's the keyword, try. So I see now, I see what board member Cherry is concerned about. I also have that concern. I want to defer to legal though, Mike. Is a
Sure,
motion?
I'm a lawyer.
I know, but I mean, would a motion, or would we need to work with the applicant to come back and deal with the specific issue?
Yeah, I really think that in order to make sure that we
The
have
notice.
this fully set, that what you could do so that Mr. Hall doesn't have to go through another application fee or any of that, would be to table this particular item, request that the distance there, and I think you're talking about, if you look on the survey where the frame shed is on the, I'm not sure what side of the property that is, but is that the north up there? The north, there is a little pitch in the frame building that says 1.6. Right, let's see, where's the frame building? Right there, yeah, 1.6. Kind of directly below the T in lot, if you come down a little bit towards the frame building. That looks to be the closest point of the building, if you all agree with me.
It's on the north side.
Yeah, it
On the
looks
north
like it.
side, yes.
Yep.
Is that from the fence?
That you have just have a surveyor tell us what the distance is from that particular point to the property line. And then you could approve or disapprove that particular setback issue too, so that we would have that on the record as well as the front piece.
So we would modify this request to include that setback request as well.
Correct, but we will need to advertise that again, because even though there are plenty of folks here, frankly, to speak on it, there may be someone who thought, who might say, well, wait a minute, I'm okay with him, setting back right 0 on the front, but I'm not okay with setting back 4 feet on the side
yeah.
or something.
That's what my concern is. So I wanted to make sure that I wasn't missing something there, because there isn't, in that case, because we're expanding the request.
Yeah.
it's a notice component there too, so.
But I mean, and the testimony that I think you've heard is that that was an existing structure. When he bought the home, he didn't do the changes, none of that stuff. He made the repairs after Hurricane Michael, like everybody in Bay County did.
Well, I know, but for his sake, it needs to get addressed properly, so it's not a non-issue. for him.
Correct.
When he tries to sell this property,
Yeah.
it's
No, I
going
think
to be a problem.
You know, it's a good catch and it ought to be remedied. And I think seems to be a consensus for an easy remedy here. But in order to make sure that we've done it properly, we would need to, I would recommend that you table this to the next meeting, if that's what you're looking to address both of them. Ask him to have his surveyor tell us what the distance is from that corner to there. Staff can then send out notices to the surrounding folks, not at Mr. Hall's expense, but at our expense, the city's expense, and then have this hearing at your September 9.
Then the planning board meeting for September will be on the 14th. So September 14th is the second Monday of that month. So
Does that all make sense, what we're trying to get to,
Can I
Mr.
come
Hall?
back up, please, real quick? So because there's a question on the setback on the north property line with the frame shed structure, it should have been addressed at the same time. This was pre-existing to you here. The temperature of this board would probably be, from what I see, to approve that request. But to avoid any problem in the future, the proposal is to table this to the next meeting. We'll get an exact measurement so that can be advertised to the neighbors. You know, we could vote on the other motion today, but this would also encompass that as well. And then you're free and clear going forward with everything. So
I would recommend you do that all at one meeting, though.
Yeah,
Don't approve
don't
one today
separate.
and then approve one. No, do it all at once.
So I gotta wait another month.
Yes, sir.
Unfortunately, yeah.
This has been going on since May.
But the other option is, and I think this is what the board's trying to avoid, is that they approve the one that you're here for today and then tell you, oh, by the way, you've got a code violation. You need to redo an application, spend another $500 and come back around. What we're trying to do here is say, Mr. Hall, we would like to fix your problem all at once. It's going to take you another 30 days. The staff will pay for the advertising that'll have to go out to your neighbors because they will have to be notified of that side, that north setback on the side.
That neighbor's sitting here.
Well, that's not the only neighbor that gets notice.
I'm at your mercy. I don't have a choice. I should have just done what everybody in the neighborhood did, and you'd never met me, and I wouldn't have met you. Anyway, I hate to be that way, but I mean, I got a seawall I spent $34,000 on, I can't get an inspection on it from people. But yet, you'd think I'm building a 10-foot story building there. I got a seawall finished, and I can't get it inspected, put dirt back there, but yet you're gonna take your time and my time over a flat roof carport. And something that was built on that property when I bought it. I didn't put it there. It was there when I bought it 13 years ago. But I thank you for your help.
You would ask them, why are you being held responsible for something that was there before you bought it?
So I'm just saying, it was there when I bought the property. I didn't put it there.
Essentially, you're trying to expand a non-conforming structure. That's what we're
The
trying,
structure was already there.
as a non-conformity.
do we need his consent to table this or?
No, you don't.
So we have a motion and a second.
We have a motion and a second to approve.
To approve
Right.
the,
Discussion.
And
So
then,
we have-
and then,
So
so
you
if
either-
we table it, we would need to modify or withdraw. Thank you.
I withdraw the motion.
No, I made the motion, and I'm not withdrawing yet. Chairman, he does have another option. We could proceed with this, and then he could pay $500 for another variance for that.
Or roll the dice.
correct.
If you'll tell me today what the problem with that variance is going to be, I'll solve it for you before you ever have to have another meeting. We don't have to keep having a meeting. Tell me what I need to do, and I'll cut 4 feet off that sucker if that's gonna make all you people happy. But this is getting ridiculous.
The issue is not your front, the one that you're here for now. It's a different issue at this
But
point.
nobody had a problem with it before I bought the house, and it was there.
Yeah, well, there's truth to that. Someone violated that, and then
And I'm gonna pay the price.
as well, and And we're trying to make sure, this board anyway, is trying to make sure you don't have to pay an additional price for it.
That property line,
Seven,
3
seven.
feet,
how much room do you need?
3 feet if it's accessory.
It's an addition to the house, I
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah, so the primary structure, the side setback for that zoning district would be 7 feet from the property line, to be clear. Your building setbacks in that district would be 7 feet from the property line.
I mean, the other option is for us to table it until next month and pass a variance upon your request to modify that and give you that grace.
Like I said, sir, I'm a good person. You tell me what I
No,
gotta do.
trying to do what's right for you too, sir. So,
I'll do whatever you do.
Can a cantilever own to the setback or no? What's your code say on that?
She's coming back from.
Like how far can a
So
cantilever into the
first of all, we got to vote. There's a motion and a second. You can't just withdraw the motion. We've got to vote on it first. So we got to vote up or down on the motion on the table.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and do that. The motion on the table was to approve the variance as stated in the agenda. Please take roll.
Board Member Anderson,
Yes.
Board Member Cherry,
No.
Board Member Barker,
Yes.
Board Member Rich,
yes.
Chairman Newbauer.
Yes,
Motion passes 4-1.
thank you. You're good. Thank you.
So I do nothing now until the next meeting, is that what you're telling me?
No, you just got
No,
to.
sir, now you've got a problem with the non-conforming use on your north side that you need to address.
But can I do anything with a carport in the meantime?
That was approved.
Sir,
That was approved.
I humbly thank you.
All right, request letter C.
Request C, case number ending in 1618 is a request for a variance. The applicant is requesting a variance from the neighborhood general setback regulations established by section 104-36.2.8 of the ULDC. The applicant is requesting to build a 5,000 square foot commercial building with a minimum front setback of 25 feet. The owner is Jason Oakes. The applicant is Brad Harris and is located on 551 East 6th Street.
Thank you. Are there any questions from board members for staff?
I have a question. So I know it's mentioned that there's a DOT easement and that's what's prompting this need. Did staff see the DOT easement and is that been verified?
There is an easement out front.
Okay. All right, any other questions? Applicant here to speak on this item?
Yeah.
Please state your name and address, and council will swear you're in.
Yeah, name's Brad Harris, live at 903 Baldwin, sir.
Solemnly swear to affirm that the testimony you're about to give to be the truth, the whole truth, nothing
I
but
do.
the truth. Thank you.
Questions for the applicant?
Is the 25 feet the minimum necessary amount that you need that pushback from the street?
It's not a defined minimum. It's what we had kind of came up with. I think other zoning, not this exact zoning use, but other ones in the area have typically like a 15, 25 foot, which is kind of came with a round number. The need for it though is the DOT easement, and then the city does have a existing sewer line to the north of the easement that is approximately, I believe it was like 8 feet deep. So if any repairs would need to be made to that sewer line and you have a building close to it, it would damage the foundation of the building. So that's pretty much where the 25 feet came in, was to give a pretty good buffer off that sewer line in the event that repairs are needed. So now the only thing would be fixing the stormwater pond and potentially some asphalt.
To further clarify, the easement I'm talking about is a sewer easement the city has. And then per the applicant, there's also a DOT easement.
But have you seen evidence of that?
I don't have any record of it, but it'd be something easy to look up. We could require the applicant provide a copy of that easement to us.
It's whatever easement's on the survey there.
DOT easement on Highway 98, assumingly.
It may well be the city utility easement as well. 10 feet, maybe? I don't have the survey in front of me. But according to our surveyors locates, the utility line, the sewer line was outside of that easement.
To the north of that easement?
Yeah, it's to the north of the easement, so,
Okay, gotcha.
I mean, potentially there may need to be a new easement written, but that could all be done during the.
Right, but the
DO
closest
process.
thing to the proposed building would be the sewer
sewer line,
easement?
yes.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
gotcha.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir.
Yeah, I got,
Okay, go
I
ahead.
got one question. We have a lot of emails I do from concerning what it's gonna be and why you need a variance. It's gonna be an expansion. There's concern about alcohol and everything, so why are you making it larger? Is to make the liquor store larger or whatever?
This is a separate parcel from the liquor store parcel. This would be, right now, it's kind of shell building. There's no intended use of alcohol sales or expansion of the existing liquor.
We're just talking about
Yeah,
variance.
it'd be kind of like a warehouse, box trucks to load, unload. It wouldn't be a bar.
Wouldn't be no liquor sold out of it, is what you said.
No.
Any other questions? Thank you. Is there anyone else here to speak on this item? Any further? All right. Do we have a motion? Is there a motion?
I think they're still looking at it.
So what are y'all saying now?
We were looking, I don't know that the issue really regarding the easement happens to be the sewer line easement, I think, which is causing the problem because it runs across the front of the property. I think there's a mistake regarding what used to be Sixth Street that's been abandoned there. Show it on, and maybe I can.
Too small.
Yeah.
Was it a DOT easement or DOT right away?
I think it was a DOT right away, or it was a Sixth Street. It was part of the cities. It's been abandoned. I think that's the issue there. Regardless, I believe their point is going to be that this sewer easement right here is still causing a problem with the setback and all of that. That was the point I think you made a moment ago,
Correct.
was if we put the building up there where, in order to alleviate the problem in the back, we still got a problem with the sewer easement.
And as it's proposed, all other back and side easements are conforming.
Yeah.
They are or not?
They are.
Are.
Yeah, they
That's
are.
what I thought.
Yeah.
So it's just the need to push it back because of the city's easement.
Because you've got the sewer easement that runs right through the front of it.
And the owner pledges that this is not going to be alcohol related. Correct?
No alcohol sales, correct. It's not expansion of the bar.
Okay, thank you. Does
And-
that answer your question, Mr. Parker?
Yes.
And for the record, y'all got the written comments we received
Yes.
from?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Do I have a motion? I'm gonna pass over chair to the vice chair. I'll make a motion to approve.
Can we get to the motion? Can we get a second?
I'll second.
The motion approved that we approve this. Take the roll.
Board Member Anderson?
Yes.
Board Member Cherry? Yes. Board Member Barker?
Yes.
Board Member Rich?
Yes.
Chairman Newbauer?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Never had that one before, but okay. Request letter D.
Item D is case number ending in 1500. It is an application type for rezoning. The applicant has requested rezoning from neighborhood residential to neighborhood general. The owner is Valentino's LLC. The applicant is USA Building Restoration LLC. The parcel is located at 2913 East Fifth Court, and staff recommends approval.
Thank you. Are there any questions from board members for staff? See none. Is the applicant here to speak on this item?
They are, I believe they're online.
Okay.
Good afternoon. My name is Andres Canelson. I haven't been sworn in.
Okay.
Do you solemnly swear or
I'm-
affirm the testimony you'll give be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Thank you.
I
Are
am
there any
here in
questions?
behalf of the applicants to answer any questions needed.
Any questions for the applicant from
So
board members?
as if I understand it correctly, you're just looking, the need for this zoning change is for your south side because you've got already existing buildings on your north side of the property. That's on Fifth
The
Court,
north-
where it has multifamily housing, it looks like.
Yes, the north side of the property has already been done. There's a small section that is right behind 512 that we are trying to combine with that other lot. Owners of each lot have already spoken and they're in agreement. Everything is fine. The only problem that we're having is once the neighborhood program became in effect, both lots before were the same zoning. Now they changed to one zoning one zoning another. We're trying to put it back together so we can actually do the combination with no problems.
Any questions for the applicant? Thank you, sir. Is there anyone else here to speak on this item? All right, seeing none, do I have a motion?
Motion approved.
Second?
Motion second, please take roll.
Board Member Anderson,
Yes.
Board Member Cherry,
Yes.
Board Member Barker.
Yes.
Board Member Rich,
Yes.
Chairman Newbauer.
Yes,
Motion passes 5-0.
thank you. We'll return to request letter A. Is the applicant they're online? Okay, great. Are there any other questions? We had some discussion earlier. Is there any questions from board members for staff? Okay. All right. So applicant, able to hear us? Okay.
Yeah, we're here as well.
Okay. On behalf of the applicant? Yeah, that'd be easier. Please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record, and if you've been sworn in, if you're not, he'll take care of that.
I've not been sworn in. Daniel Rainierson, 23 Quail Loop, Fairhope, Alabama.
Solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions for the applicant?
He wasn't here when all the question was, do you have it in the record? So we have to go through all those questions again?
Any that were not
Gotta
answered by
ask him.
staff?
Pretty much.
Do you want us to repeat the report real quick? Would that be helpful for, want to give this report
Yeah, I
again?
think
real quick?
so.
Could one of members repeat? Orlando, yeah.
Okay, case number ending in 1253, they're requesting a rezoning from light industrial to heavy industrial. The owner is SA Recycling LLC and the applicant is Curtis Adams and is located on 1023 East 15th Street.
I've got a question for the applicant.
Go ahead.
Is the sale done? Like the sale took place and it's done, it's finalized?
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay, I got another question. You through?
Yes, sir.
Did you check into this before you bought? Did you know it was gonna have to change?
I did not know. We did not catch it.
It came up when the city tried to issue the business
Yeah,
license.
business
It did.
license,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any questions for the applicant?
What are your intended uses of this property?
The same as it has been since it's always been there. So recycle scrap metal, that is our business, and we'll continue to do that. We don't plan to add any additional processes, no changing, just exactly as it has been.
This property is across the street from the cycling place, though, right? This property is directly across the street from the housing unit, right?
Catty corner. Yeah.
Okay, the mill place, the recycle place is cattle walk. I'm gonna say cattle corner.
Yeah.
If I looked at the thing right, the property that you were talking about was directly across from the housing project.
See, yeah,
Housing
it's diagonally
complex.
across the street.
Diagonal.
Okay, it's diagonal.
Any other questions for the applicant?
Can I ask a question to staff?
Sure. Yeah.
Is is for that side of the table. Is there anything that could be done so that if it got moved to an HI, that we could have any limitations of what it could be aside from what it currently is? I guess it would go into a review if it were ever to change what it is to become. Is that correct?
It already comes to us, right?
One of the things that Ms. Haley noted was that if it were to be HI, any development activity in HI has to come before this board, before they.
It's like a 4-story building or non-conforming.
Yeah, it's basically, it's not basically, it is a major development if it's HI. Therefore, if there's any changes, it has to come in front of you.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's, my main concern is just that if 15 years from now, they decide to sell the business down the road and change what it is, and it becomes something that's a detriment to the neighborhood that's not what it is currently, that we got a say in it, right?
Right.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Unless
Another
the
question.
city changes that provision of the code, but that's the way it works right now.
Yeah.
Is major developments come before this board.
It's all we can work off.
Yes.
So major development, HI automatically. So if they wanted to change their business model down the road years from now,
They could.
they would have to come before the city to change their business
They're
model.
doing any development activity when it's HI, it has to come before you.
So even if they expand and recycle business, they're still coming.
Correct.
Yeah, but they could. Yeah.
Any other questions? Is there anybody else? Thank you. Is there anybody else here to speak on this item?
Yes, hi. Can you guys hear me?
I got one ahead of you real quick with,
Oh, I was speaking on behalf of the subject you guys are on right now.
okay, go ahead.
That's
Let's
the
let the applicant speak first. Go ahead, sir.
I apologize. So I just want to reinforce that we have no intention of changing the use, expanding the use. We were kind of under the understanding, because it had been there for decades, that it was a grandfathered use, which I know that Panama City has different rules than some of the other cities we've operated in. The only changes we would want to make to that use is what you guys would want us to do, whether that's beautify, invest money into landscaping, fencing, etc. But we just want to continue to be good tenants in the community and recycle and keep, scrap metal off the streets and recycle it in an environmentally friendly way. So I just wanted to kind of add that. We're not trying to put a new building there. We're not trying to change anything unless it was required by the city. And, that you guys would want us to do that. We have no intention. We do not sell businesses. So we're going to be there and try and be a friendly tenant. And we're not trying to change the use. So I just wanted to add that in.
Thank you. Ma'am, you can please come state your name and address for the record if you've been sworn in.
My name is Kathleen Richardson. My address is 700 Bay Avenue, Panama City, Florida. My concern is,
You've been sworn in, sorry.
pardon?
Have you been sworn in?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
Would you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give to be the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you.
My concern is what effect is, if it does get changed to heavy industrial, what effect is that going to have on the property thereby on 15th Street next to the old scrap metal place? We have some property next door. And I'm trying to find out what effect is that going to have on our property?
So at this point in time, there's no changes to the existing use. This is just a process to allow them to be conforming because the ownership entity changed. If they were to expand anything on that property, they have to come back before this board again and you would be noticed again as a neighbor.
Okay. Another question is, this address the one that's the vacant property, or is this where the scrap metal is now?
This is currently where the scrap metal is operating right now.
Now, okay, and I noticed that they're doing some improvement, it looks better too out there. But my concern was, what were we going to have to be confronted with if we sell the property or do anything on our property, how is that going to affect us?
Yeah, that was the board's concern as well, and currently, right now, there's no intention of the ownership to expand it. If they were to expand any use on that property, it comes back to this board again.
And we will be notified.
Correct, yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, let me ask you something.
We got one more. Go ahead.
I haven't been sworn.
I want just something heard before you got here.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I think if I'm right, the only property that's affected is the scrap metal property, right? Nobody else's property is affected. So nobody else's property is coming up under this.
Correct.
Variance. That's what, I mean, it's changed, zone change. So if your property is not their property, you're gonna have the same zoning or the same, planning what you ever had for that property.
Now, I want to, that's a good, thank you for bringing that up. So this heavy industrial, that's just for that property, won't it include all of that? Well, why did we get letters concerning to?
Go ahead.
We're required to notify the surrounding property owners,
Okay,
just so that you're aware.
oh, okay, so that doesn't concern us at all then, huh? We wouldn't be in that.
It's not affecting your property, but you still have a right to be aware that this item is being considered.
Well, if that's the case, then why is our property not a residential like it was instead, and then it was commercial and light industrial? Why did it get changed? If it doesn't affect our property, if the zoning of our property, why was it changed?
You're saying your property was changed?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, that was a long time ago, years ago. It was residential. Then they changed it to light, commercial and light industrial.
Okay.
I did, so this is what I wanna know.
Yeah, that's a different unrelated issue.
I'm just guessing it was the neighborhood plans because that's all to the west.
We got one.
And the city did that a few years ago.
I'm sorry, I didn't understand what you said.
So the city of Panama City, we went through a neighborhood plans process. It was a citywide process that impacted 3 areas: St. Andrews, Millville, and Glenwood. These were deemed the more historical areas in the city. And so there was a massive public outreach that occurred over a period of several years. What came out of that outreach and all of the meetings and the workshops was a visioning plan. It's a book about this thick. And what came out of the plans were 3 zoning districts. You can actually see them, I believe you can see them all here on the map: neighborhood residential, neighborhood general, and neighborhood downtown. There was a mass rezoning that occurred, I believe it was January 2025, yes, where the zoning districts had already been adopted, but the actual maps were put in place on all the properties in 2025. So I believe it sounds like what you're referring to is that shift and that transition change. What we're speaking about today is specifically dealing with a section in that area that actually is outside the boundary of where those mass zoning changes occurred. So this particular parcel is very different, but again, you were noticed because you were within 300 feet, and you probably saw that on your letter. You were noticed because your property, if you're a property owner, we are required by local ordinance to notice you on rezonings if your property falls within 300 feet of any subject property. So that's why you were noticed here. But yes, the issue that is before the board today regarding the light industrial and the neighborhood plans process and ultimately the mass rezoning that occurred, it is 2 separate issues. And staff, if you have any questions about that or any concerns or any feedback, I'm more than happy to speak with you about that. But as far as the scope here today, it is about that LI parcel and their request to go to HI. But what you're saying, you're correct. There was a shift in the surrounding parcels.
Okay, and this shift happened years ago.
At this point, yeah,
not just
it's been occurring over, several years. So the zoning districts were put in place, I believe that would have been 2019. And then we had the actual maps adopted, and I think I got that date wrong, 2020, 2021. Anyways, everything's occurred within the last 5 years. But if you have any other questions, you're welcome to reach out to us.
My name is Janae Swan, and I haven't been sworn in.
You solemnly swear to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but truth.
I do.
Thank you.
So I want to make sure I understand.
Could you also state
everything.
your address for the record,
Oh,
please?
918 East 17th Street.
Thank you.
We have 3 family homes on that hook. So what you're saying is pretty much they have to have the heavy,
To keep the business as is, they have, because the entity changed ownership, it was basically caught when they applied for the business license, the new entity. The only option is to go for heavy industrial for them to be conforming and on what the business they currently operate is. They have no intention to expand at this time. If they were to expand that use at any point in time, or any buildings in that parcel, they would have to come back before this board and you'd be noticed again.
okay, because that's our concern, because the trucks already damaged the road, because they're heavy. It's rocks. My mom's yard, when it rains, it floods. She has to wear boots to come out. That's because of the sand and stuff that just piles up there. We've had to call the city because it's like a sinkhole where the heavy trucks have just busted up the road. Just wear and tear. But you're saying that if they do something other than what they're doing, they have to bring it back, because in that little neighborhood, we've been there over 40 years. We can't take much more. My mom, she's retired. She can't buy no new home or plan on relocating, because that's just where we've been. Like I said, we got the whole little block. There's 3 houses there that we've owned all that time. So, they would have to come back
Yes,
if
ma'am.
they tried to change.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here to speak on this item?
I've not been sworn in.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. Your name and address, please.
My name is Angela Whiteley, address 1625 Mercedes Avenue. I believe I have a lot of questions, but I'm sorry, I have a list. All right, so with it being rezoned heavy industrial, I understand that it has to be brought up to code because it was already grandfathered in. Are they gonna have to put in a retention pond? And if so, for the water runoff? I'm sorry. Also, the traffic, what, do they have to have more semi trucks coming through there? Because again, 17th Street and Mercedes Avenue can't really take a lot more of the traffic from the semi trucks. And also there's families, children that play in that area, and there's a lot of reckless drivers that come through. So I'm curious to know what new type of business are they bringing with the heavy industrial change?
Probably, we can yield back to the applicants to speak that. What they've said so far is there's no change to what's currently occurring at the property. This is just a checksum basically because the new entity applied for the business license. As far as stormwater, staff can probably answer that question. Is there any changes in stormwater requirements from the LI to HI?
Also setbacks and whatnot, because I'm sorry to interrupt, there was a fire not too long ago and it affected their neighbor, their commercial neighbor. So I'm just curious how close that can get to the residential homes in that area. And again, my family's been there 40 years plus, so.
So as you all, when someone goes through a rezone, where a property goes through a rezoning, it's like a high level entitlements issue. So we're at the stage is the use even permissible? So the types of things that you're talking about are very valid, but they're typically discussed and they're considered upon what we call development review.
Okay.
So you probably heard us talk about earlier this major development component. Anything in HI, if there's any development requests in our code, in our jurisdiction, a applicant, if they're requesting any type of expansion or modification within heavy industrial, they are required to come back before this board. And so to speak specifically to your stormwater questions, traffic, and really any development in general, mitigation issues, those types of things will be considered at that stage.
Okay.
Because typically, when someone, again, when they're trying to rezone, they're just trying to get the entitlements. Oftentimes, people won't actually develop the site for years. So it's very premature at this stage to ask for those things because we're not sure specifically what they're going to do. You don't know what to ask for, right?
Another meeting to fight that, basically.
Well, then you'll be noticed and you'll be aware.
Right.
And so while I understand that can be frustrating, this, I'm going to be honest, that is the nature of development because we never know when they're going to come in, and also the business model might change. And so at that point, they'll have to adjust then. But again, to answer your question specifically, those types of issues are specified, are really looked at and scrutinized at the development review stage.
Okay.
And so in HI, you have to have a compatibility analysis, and they have to come before the board again and explain what they're going to do if there's any additional development on the site.
Okay. And if they are to remain light industrial, they pretty much can still operate under that, or no? They have to be brought up to code, basically?
The only way that we see, and we discussed this briefly, and there's no guarantee, we're literally just for the record, we're thinking out loud here, is if the zoning district light industrial LI, which it currently is amended. So the actual text would be amended. But this is the thing about text amendments. Rezonings and land use changes are typically very site specific. When you amend a text, it applies to all zoning, it's anything that's zoned in that district. So there's a lot of scrutiny that has to go into text amendments as well, which is why sometimes you might sense some hesitancy with that, because we're not just talking about one site anymore. We're talking about every single parcel within the city limits that is zoned LI.
Okay.
To expand on her question, nothing would get triggered for data analysis without a DO, correct? It's not going to
Yes.
get triggered on its own.
So even with LI, the code is very specific about what is a major development. But even with LI, if there's any expansions or modifications, it would still need to go before the technical review committee. Now, to be clear, the technical review committee is staff. Everyone you see sitting here, staff is on that committee. That's the city engineer, city utilities engineer. It's not this body, but it's a separate group of experts that enforce the city regulations and codes. But they will have to get approval from the technical review committee in the form of an commercial industrial development order.
Are there any performance standards moving to HI that would be in the community's favor that would be held to a higher standard from LI?
That would be the compatibility analysis. And I don't have it right in front of me. But there's a list of things that come up in that major development. And I want to make sure I heard you correctly. You did say HI, correct?
But moving from LI to HI.
Yes. So it would be that major development. If you all recall, there's usually a list of things that they have to address.
It's called an impact.
Impact,
assessment.
sorry, yes.
Assessment.
An impact assessment, I'm sorry. And so they have to complete an impact assessment for HI. So HI, yes, it's an intense zoning district, but that's why there's all these extra things that come with going to HI and developing in HI, because it is such an intense zoning district.
Yeah, and I guess my point is
Yeah.
those things not being required for LI, if the community did have something happen where the purpose changed, then all those considerations be taken into effect, and they're not currently. So it does give us an opportunity to analyze that a little bit closer that
True.
way.
Okay.
So,
True.
okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here to speak on this item? Seeing none, does the applicant wish to answer any questions or respond? Okay. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion second, please take roll.
Board Member Anderson,
Yes.
Board Member Cherry,
Yes.
Board Member Barker,
Yes.
Board Member Rich,
Yes.
Chairman DeBauer.
Yes,
Motion passes 5-0.
thank you. All right, non-action items. I think we have an announcement by Board Member Sterling Anderson.
Yeah, Chairman, it's bittersweet. I have to resign at the end of this meeting, my position on the board, unfortunately. It was an unexpected offer for a job in Washington DC. As y'all know, I'm active duty Florida Air National Guard, and it comes with a promotion, so I can't really say no to that. I thought it might happen here, it did not, but the good news is I'm not giving up my Florida residency nor my Bay County or Panama City residency. We're keeping the house. The wife and I will temporarily relocate to DC for an unknown period of time, at least a year, depending on orders, and then I will be back. I will be watching on TV, these on YouTube, these meetings feverishly. I've already notified Commissioner Street. I want to thank him and the commission and the mayor for the opportunity that was much shorter than we all thought. And then, of course, I want to thank the board, the staff, the Mikes, Jawan, city staff. You guys are amazing in keeping me up to date and trying to keep me, I kept trying to keep up with y'all, frankly, and couldn't do it. But that has no reason why I'm resigning. But I do want to say, and if anybody's ever in DC over the next year or two, then look us up. But thanks for the opportunity. I will send you a letter, I think, Mike. Is that what I need to do, Mike Burke?
You can send it to one of us.
I don't know if
Submit it
either
to the
Mike-
Development Service Director, yeah.
Okay,
It's
copy
public.
that. So I will send a written letter in this afternoon and get that to y'all. But appreciate the opportunity and thanks so much for the time.
We look
Thanks
forward to
for
your,
your-
Oh,
look forward to your
congratulations.
online comments.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Thank you.
We're forgiving them going to Washington.
Yeah. This brings us to the audience participation portion of the agenda. Does anybody wish to comment? Say none. Meeting is adjourned.